Good day and welcome to this LogiChem webinar. We are here today with Daniela Uber from Wacker Chemie and Max Wiegelt from Ocean Insights. My name is Nick Savvides. I'm the managing editor at Container News, and I'll be moderating or intervening when with the battle between the chemical and the data guys. So first of all, I think we're going to have a little presentation from Daniela to tell us a little bit about Wacker Chemie and what she does. Please take it away, Daniela.
Okay, thank you very much. Hello, everyone. My name is Daniela Huber. I'm working in the logistics department at Wacker Chemie in Burghausen, which is on the Austrian border in the south of Germany. And first of all, 2 introductory slides about Wacker Chemie as a company. So we're based in the chemical industry, but we're serving customers from a lot of different industries, ranging from automotive to semiconductors to construction industry to pharmaceuticals. So we have a very broad range of customer expectations when it comes to logistics, from on time, in sequence, to bulk chemicals, very regular businesses. So our logistics processes need to be rather flexible. Also, we're a global company. We have 24 production sites around the world. So next, besides Germany, it's also US, China, Japan, Korea, Brazil, and India. So we're not only supplying our customers worldwide, but we also have a lot of shipments between our company plants. So sea freight is really, really important to us. Yeah, so that's also why automation and visibility of our shipping processes is very crucial for us. And we started our journey towards more transparency, I would say about 5 years back. And we came from a place where we had one-to-one EDI interfaces with our carriers that were error-prone, that didn't have a lot of transparency also in the IT process itself. And it was not at all suited for a global rollout. So it was only applied in Germany. And we started by writing down a to-do list, like, okay, replace this old EDI interface with a state-of-the-art cloud-based solution. We also wanted to have a web portal for the smaller carriers with no EDI capabilities. We definitely wanted a system that's suitable for global rollout, also to our plants in the US and China. We defined for every transport mode the milestones where we wanted to see updates on. We added a delay notification feature to notify our customer services about any delays right at the beginning. We also added alert features to our carriers to ensure that they follow the processes in time. And we built an easy-to-access tracking page for our customer service. Well, that really went well, and it was implemented in a rather smooth process. But what we found out in the end, that the data that we had in there and the quality of the data, the timeliness of the data, was not at all what we expected. And that was especially a problem in the ocean freight, because if you get in ETA updates, changes in schedule only days later or not at all, people still keep going to every carrier's webpage and tracking their containers by themselves, spending a lot of time doing so, or calling the shipping department to get updates. And so we went out to see if there wasn't better data out there, especially for container shipments. And that's when we came across Ocean Insights. And we really liked the platform and the way that it connected all data from all carriers so that we had one uniform platform and not every single carrier's website to go to. And we started it off as a standalone solution. And we found that we had really good data in there and that we really liked this data, but we not really used it in the everyday process because it was cumbersome to retrieve the container number from SAP and then going to the website, putting in the container number, finding the tracking, and doing it all over again the next day. So
how did you solve that problem? How did you solve that problem of having to reintroduce that every day?
We started thinking about how can we connect the data in Ocean Insights to the TMS that we already had, because that's where all the information was that we needed, like what's the customer, what's the responsible customer service, what's the product, what's the scheduled and promised delivery dates, all these nice things that we wanted to connect to the last status on the container shipping.
And Ocean Insights were able to provide all that data?
Yes. So we knew that they had the data and we knew that they have an API that can connect to our TMS. So we got the tech guys talking both at our TMS provider and at Ocean Insights to figure out how we can do two things. The one is automatically setting up all our containers for tracking, because otherwise you need to upload them or you need some manual process again. And so we wanted the API to receive the subscriptions, and we wanted the API to send back the latest status updates to our TMS. And basically that's what we did. So now we have what we call our control tower that connects all the data from our sources and from Ocean Insights, and also has a set of defined rules to say, okay, if there is an ETA change, I do want an alert going to the customer service. Also, if there's a change in, for example, transshipment ports, but I don't necessarily want an email going out with every status update that you get. So there, it took us a rather long time for all this fine-tuning to work with the really vast information and making sure that we do not, send too much information out, because then in the end, nobody will read it.
Yeah,
so
that's always data avalanche. So Max, just a quick question for you, because it's all very well working with someone like Wacker Chemie, which is a large company, has a lot of resources. If you have a small company and they come to you with these problems, what's the solution? Is there a solution, or do they just have to throw their hands up and say,
I'm pretty sure there's a solution for everything and everyone. So it doesn't matter if you want to work with the web application as a standalone solution, for example. So maybe I can give you a quick overview of how Ocean Insights works, if this is okay, just as a jump in. Maybe, I'm not sure, because I'm not able to see the screen right now. Maybe you can click on the slide 10 of 12, please, just to show the audience the slide I want to show, just that they know what is going on right now. So first of all, Daniela, thanks a lot for the perspective and the insights about your way of working right now. Maybe I can also introduce myself. So my name is Maximilian Weigelt. Max, I think it's easier for all of you. I'm Business Development Director with Ocean Insights now since summer 2019. I'm taking care of the DACH region, so Austria, Switzerland, and Germany. And just as an easy explanation, we made it to our mission to bring visibility to container sea freight. And it doesn't matter if you're a big company or a small company. Every company needs visibility right now, because I think it's nowadays more important than ever to have this visibility in place. And we focus on Corona, of course. There are many quarantine closures, strikes, heavy port congestion in UK regarding the Brexit. So there are many topics at the moment going on. And we want to help out with that, because we are able to provide the visibility around the container of our customers, and of course also around the container of Wacker. Maybe you can have a look on the left-hand side of the graphic. I'm now hoping you are all able to see everything I want to show. Just as a quick explanation where we get the data from. So at the moment, especially if you want to see what is going on with your container, you go to your carrier and you ask them, hey, what's going on? They provide the information on various ways. The data quality coming from the carrier is not always the best. So we want to provide the highest data quality when it comes to ocean track and trace, of course. So first of all, what kind of sources do we need and do we use? If you see there's this small vessel, I hope you all see this small vessel on the left-hand side. So I think it's right around the left corner. There's a small vessel, means we get the information directly from the carrier. So we have a connection to more than 55 carriers at the moment, getting automated status events directly from the carrier. So for example, ETAs, plan ETAs, initial ETAs, update changes, for example. So we get on the first hand, we get the information directly from the carrier. You all might know that the quality coming from carriers are not always the best. So we don't use only the carrier sources. On top of it, we call it geofences around ports. So we can see in real time when the vessel with your container on it enters the port and when it leaves the port, when it comes to stop, for example, when the container is loaded, when it's discharged. We get customs release, for example, through ports and carriers. So we have a really, really detailed view when it comes to the port level. On top, you see the little AES signal, AES symbol. We have a direct connection to the AES provider, means we can give you the exact position of each container on the ocean. And then we break it down to a container level. So we have the vessel information and we break it down to a container level to tell you, okay, where is your container currently located? So you have the possibility to proactively react if you see there's something wrong. For example, especially nowadays, many carriers planned with transshipment without informing customers, or there's a rerouting without informing their customers. And we see every time if such an event happens, and then we, of course, proactively inform our customers. Besides that, you have some other good aspects because we also receive the captain's delay, for example. I'm pretty sure the captain knows best when the container really should arrive at port of discharge. So this is a nice side effect. But on top of it, last but not least, and I think this is the most important component here, is we get news information. So we have a connection to news provider, and we automatically pull this information out of the system and link it to your containers as well. So we had it, I think it was in December, before Christmas somewhere when there was a strike in Montreal, for example, or nowadays the heavy port congestions in LA, which are going on. So there are many information which are not provided by carriers, and we get this information and we link it to also the journey of a container to take this information and also are able to calculate an own ETA. So it's called predictive ETA. Without just using the carrier information. So we have the possibility to proactively give customers information when something happens. And I think this is the most important part here when it comes to this current situation. And yeah, then as Daniela said, we provide the information via API. So you have the possibility to integrate it into every third-party system. If it is a TMS system or an ERP system, you can take this information and link it with other information. And I think this is the benefit right now, but on top of it, you have the possibility to also optimize your supply chain. And, this is also one big example right now, because we want you to pull the most out of this data. So therefore, we have the possibility to create statistics. The merge retention is such a big topic at the moment. Everything that helps you, of course, I bring in better visibility and helping out with optimizing supply chain. Sorry, it's hard without seeing anything. So if I'm driving in circuits, don't judge me, please. And yeah. Inventory optimization is such a big topic because lead time statistics we provide, and what do we have? Performance KPI reports we are able to provide to you as well as a customer, that you have the possibility, besides just the tracking component, also to optimize your supply chain.
Can I ask you a quick question about how granular this information it gets? I mean, can you tell for example, when a ship is berthed and then has unloaded a particular container? And can you tell what situation the container is in inside? So if you have a temperature control container, can you
this is
that kind of detail?
This is a really good question. So with just the focus on our own web application, we can't give you information what's inside a container, but in fact that we provide the API. We have many customers which use our track and trace data. So our tracking is purely on container level. So you can see what is going on with your container. You get all the information, also with focus on the journey. But they take this information and link it to information, for example, with temperature, or which with focus on the inventory, or like lists what's inside a container. So here you have the flexibility to work with the data the right ways, because we want you to take this information and to link it or enrich it with other information you already have in place. So, for example, especially when it comes to pre and on carriage.
Okay, and Daniela, you said quite early on in your speech that you need flexibility. That's what you were looking for in your supply chain, and what I need to understand really is what that really means. What kind of flexibility are you looking at? Because if a container is, say, delayed because of a storm, etc., what can you do about it?
Yeah, well, there's two things, or more than two, but two main points now, especially in the COVID situation and also the weather situation that we've seen over the last months. The one thing is that those containers that are already on a vessel, there's not a lot that it can do. I mean, it follows the schedule of the carrier. The good thing is that we can now say that we have the best information about this container. So for single containers, we can make decisions like, okay, we ship extra product via air freight in addition, or we ship from a local hub to make sure that the customer does not run out of stock or has to stop their production. That's things that you can do. And also with this all automated processes, our shipping teams really can focus on organizing everything that's not shipped already. Like for the port congestion situation in the US, rerouting all our bookings to ports that are not yet congested. So they don't need to face everyday questions around where is my container, but they can really work on organizing everything that still can be shipped on time and via better routes.
Okay. Can I introduce a couple of questions actually from the audience? Simply because I think it's good to bring the audience in on the conversation. Now, I think it's Hanan Kass 3 is asking, let me push this to the slide area. What does a small company who ships one container every 2 to 3 months need to do to get this service? And I think that was pushed out to Max.
Mm-hmm. Good question. So, of course, it's possible, or we are able to also provide track and trace for this small amount of containers. But in fact, that we use so many data sources, we need to check with the customer from which amount it makes sense for the customer to use this tracking component or this track and trace system, of course, because we have our own fees we have to pay to the AS provider, for example. So we need to check with the customer if it makes sense for the customer to track just a single container, or do we say it's better and you can save a lot more money if you just check it on the website if you just ship one container every couple of months, because then I'm pretty sure this whole workaround, because the focus is also on the statistics, and we say we can't provide you with so many good statistics if you ship just one container every month, for example. So we say you need to check if it makes sense for you to work with this system, and then of course we calculated an ROI with our customers to check, okay, from which amount on it makes sense to use the system, also to get an objective and neutral way of what's going on, and you can see what's going on for it, especially with focus on that. Yeah.
So, sorry, I'm going to ask just one more question from the audience straight away, because it's quite an interesting one for Daniela. I think it's A Sharp asks, how was that integration process for you? Because the issue of text and conflicting systems can sometimes be seen as an obstacle that puts a potential customer off. So how was it for you, Daniela?
I mean, we were working with two companies who really knew what they were doing. So both our TMS provider and the guys at Ocean Insights, they got the technical stuff sorted out. And I'm a logistics person, so I can understand a lot of the terms, but yeah, I'm happy if there is somebody out there who can sort it out. And both companies really did it well. From a business perspective, the more interesting part then was to figure out what information to take and what to display and what's the timing of sending out the subscriptions and receiving information back. And that really, we took a lot of time to make sure that this is exactly the way we wanted it. So we kept the information within logistics for quite a while so that we could test it ourselves and make sure we do not send hundreds of alerts out into the world and nobody knows what to do with them. So that was the more difficult part. And in my former job, I've been doing EDI integrations with our customers. So, and that really was like a half-year project sometimes to get every data field sorted out. And these days with APIs, it's a lot less time that you need and a lot less that you as a business person need to understand about IT.
This is one thing we really put a focus on, because we as a software as a service company, we have the focus on long-term relationship, of course. So we want customers work in a long-time relationship with us. So therefore, we have a really strong customer success team, which really focus on the right integration. We always put a focus on the new standards. So therefore, of course, we provide the API and not an EDI connection. So we help customers to really get the data into every third-party software, for example. And if there's not the need of an integration into other software, they can use our web application as a standalone solution. So maybe I can just give you an idea of what we need to track containers. So there are two information we need from customers to track their container. First one is either the booking reference of the carrier or the master BL of the carrier plus the name. So booking reference plus name or master BL plus names, two information. They can, or we check with the customer how they are able to provide us with the information. So many customers start with simple an Excel list they provide to us once or twice a week. We can set up like a flat file or an API integration if they want to work with an API integration. And then we upload it to the system. This is done within a couple of days, and then they can start working with the system. So it's not a heavy system which you have which you need to implement and integrate in a long time. So we want an easy and simple use system which we provide, and therefore, of course, we're trying to help our customers, in the way they need it.
Thank you, Max. Could I ask Daniela one more question? Just going back to what you were saying about sorting out the information that you needed. How did you go through that process? Because there's going to be, I mean, I've seen Ocean Insights information. There's loads of it. So how do you sift through all this stuff and decide what is necessary and what isn't? And is there things that you keep back for yourself, for your own company, and other stuff that you show to the lines or to the logistics companies, etc.? How do you make those decisions?
We try to really start with the minimum. So most important is a delay. So everything that relates with ETA later than expected, definitely worth knowing. Then we said, okay, route changes is also something that's need to know.
Right.
So those were basically the two alerts that we started off with. So this was the information that we said, okay, in those cases, please actively send out to the customer service. And Over time, we really closely monitored and looked at all the events. So we are in a lucky position to have a person who is dedicated to making sure that our customer information processes are working fine. So she spent a lot of time looking at the data and checking, okay, what's the things that people ask me about? What can also add value to the process? And so over time, we added 2-3 more events that cause an alert. Also, for example, we found that deliveries earlier than expected is also an issue, because if the customer doesn't know, then they don't pick up the container at the port and cause demurrage detention fees.
Right.
So that was something that we added. And also, about 6 months down the road, we found that oftentimes the last ETA that we got from our booking agent was not the latest info that Ocean Insights had. But they did not create an alert in this first step because they didn't know our ETA. So we started using the API to also transmit our last known ETA and close that gap, which was really important to us because we had missed quite a lot of information due to that. So it's just taking time and really having somebody dedicated to monitoring data quality.
So effectively, you were building from a solid base, of knowing where the container is and knowing if it's being rerouted, and then adding things as you went along and through experience. And Max, in your experience in dealing with Wacker and other companies, has that been the way that it normally works? Is this the best way, or do different companies have different methodologies? And do you have things that are coming down the line, new systems?
Yeah, good question. Of course, everyone handles the system differently, so every department needs different information, of course. This is one thing we set up with customers before they start working with us. So we check what kind of information, of course, they need to have linked to a container, that they easily can find the container they need to search for example. So just speaking about the web application now, every user can create individual exception management dashboards. So the one customer, for example, they need to know if a container is stuck somewhere for a couple of days, or the other customer needs to know if there's an ETA update, for example. So we have the possibility to really individualize the information they want to receive out of our system. When it comes to the API, of course, this is what Daniela mentioned earlier. Customers, they are able to pull the information they need to have out of the system. So, for example, as she said, so if there's an ETA change, for example, they can create an alert based on their software application, for example, and every time there's an ETA change, we push it automatically into their system. So they don't need to pull the information. So they set the filter, we want to get an alert, and we push it once the event happens, for example. So yeah, of course, there's really flexible to build the system, and every customer needs different informations. And the second question was the outlook into the future, right? Yes. With focus on the future, of course, we say we want to do one thing and one thing only, and this is ocean visibility for now. So there are many other suppliers and other software companies which are really strong in providing like inland tracking and rail tracking, and we say we want to do the one thing and we want to do it right, and this is ocean tracking. So therefore, our goal is to get more information when it comes to the data quality. So we speak, for example, with terminal providers to get more information when it comes to terminal levels, for example. We provide a predictive ETA. So as I mentioned earlier, we have the possibility to provide an ETA independent from the carrier. How do we do it? Just a quick idea. At the moment, we track, I don't know, like millions of containers every year. So we have historical data which we use. Then we put the marketing schedules on top to see if the container is still on its journey, for example. And then we pull all the incidents and all the external shocks that might happen on the journey to calculate an own ETA. And if we see, okay, there's a difference between what we calculated and what the carrier is telling the customers, then of course our customers need to have this information. So this is one thing we really put a focus on, to improve this prediction, to give the highest accuracy and the highest data quality when it comes to ETAs, because this is one of the most important parts here, to get to know when the container really should arrive, also with focus on Corona.
Well, I'm going to ask you a related question from Joan Manuel Azuaga. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, but I'm going to push this to the slide area, because this is related tangentially, but you'll see. Since some time, we face shortages on containers and their availability. How do we handle this and avoid these delays with your tool? Is that possible?
In some way, yes. So in fact, that we provide statistics around the container journeys. We have the possibility to provide a lead time, statistics, for example. So I try to explain it in the way I understood the question. So you have the possibility to plan and optimize your inventory. So if you see, okay, maybe we need more stock and there might be a shortage, for example, you can check, okay, how long did the journey really took? So every carrier is telling different stories about how long it would take from, I don't know, Ningbo to Hamburg. And we see and we get the information every time how long it really took. And also with the time the container is stuck in port of loading and port of discharge. So this is really the important information to plan and optimize the inventory. And if you see, okay, there might be some things going around the container, you have the possibility to plan according this statistic.
So this is really about pre-planning, isn't it? It's before the journey begins and knowing where empty containers might be.
Sure. So the real-time visibility is the one perspective of the model, but I would say also a really important factor is to work with the data, also with our Ocean Insights historic data, to plan in the future and to avoid mistakes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Have you found that kind of service useful, Daniela? Knowing where empties might be, has that been a useful thing?
Honestly, we're not using that part. We have our in Burghausen, we have an empty container stock that's managed by an external partner, and we have a lot of various data systems that tie in there. So that has not been a focus area.
So okay, that's really good for Wacker.
I mean, we're also facing the shortage, but we have not looked into Ocean Insights as a way to solve this.
I just wanted to say, so if there's a topic which is of interest for customers and we have the data in place, we would like to, of course, offer our customers that we create individual reports and statistics. So if there's one topic of interest and we are able to do it, we have a big data team in place who just creates statistics every day.
Okay. I've got a person here, Fons de Haan, who's a man after my own heart, given what I asked Priyanka before we came on air. He wants to know about money and what your charging model is. Mm-hmm. How do you provide your services, Max?
Good question. So first of all, what we need to identify is, do you want to work just with the API? Do you want just to work with the web application, or do you want to work with both? So once this is identified, we need from our customers a guaranteed container volume they want to, or they plan to track per year. Based on this, we offer our customer just one price per container, and imagine how higher the volume is, how lower the price is, of course. And then we break it down to a monthly fee. So we don't want to count every month how many containers customers ship and track. So we have this one fee per container, and that's it. And so then they have the flexibility, of course, to adjust the volume every year. And we don't have any maintenance fees. So we don't charge any users or sub-accounts. There's just one price per container, and that's it.
Okay. A more standard question here. I'm going to go through because these are really good questions. This has come from Florence Treschel, and Florence asks a real quick but detailed question: how do you recognize, I expect recognize is this short for, if a container is loaded on a vessel or has rolled, i.e. not been loaded onto the vessel, if it was supposed to?
So there are many information or many ways of how we get a rollover, or how we how we get informed if might be a rollover. So sorry. First of all, of course, when it comes to delays, so we see in advance, or we get the information from the captains that there might be a delay. And if the delay is, I don't know, like a couple of days, then it might be a rollover. Then, of course, we proactively inform our customers that there might be a rollover. We get information through the carrier. So sometimes the carrier provides us with a different vessel name, and I think it's quite, it doesn't happen that often that there are two vessels on one day starting from one port. So even if we receive the vessel change, then of course it might be a rollover, and we provided like a rollover warning. So with focus on our exception dashboard, we have this information rollover warning. So if we see that there's a vessel change, then we provide it as a rollover warning. And of course, when there's some rerouting, so we get the information that there's a rerouting or even the delay, then of course it might be a rollover, and then we inform our customers. So there are many ways of how we get this information.
Okay, that's interesting. Daniela, do you have any anecdotal evidence of how you used the Ocean Insights and how it benefited Wacker Chemie in your work?
Yeah, while Max was talking, I was thinking about how many different places we're already using it. I've been talking a lot about what we do with respect to connecting it to our TMS, but we use it a lot for internal reporting, also especially with focus on demurrage detention. We're not using so much the standard reports because the all our rules with our carriers, clock rules and fee agreements are a little different. So we really needed to apply our logic. But that's where the data is crucial. We also use it for tracking of our inbound containers, because a lot of times we receive them until the port of destination, but then it's our task to bring them to Burghausen, which unfortunately is far away from the sea. So that's been very crucial for our inbound teams to see all the incoming containers and not realizing, I don't know, 2 weeks after the container arrived, that's still stuck in the port of Hamburg because we didn't know about it. And also we still have this option to use it as a standalone, and that's what colleagues do that are not yet connected to our TMS. So for example, from plants in Korea, they just upload the containers via Excel sheet, as Max mentioned, and they can use it as a standalone. And yeah, especially the focus on events, port congestions, strikes, that's really, really helpful. And that's where we still use the platform as well to directly look at all the containers that we're tracking. So.
And then,
go on.
Yeah. Just one last thing to this topic. There's one good example at the moment. I'm pretty sure you're all aware about the freight rates currently, how high they are, and how much you have to pay for a container. In fact, that we provide with performance statistics, for example, you have really the possibility, even if you're not like having like a standard way of how you negotiate with your logistics partner, but at least you have the possibility to take the performance statistics and to take it in a negotiation with your carrier to at least try to push the prices down a little bit. So I think this is currently a really good example of how we can, or how customers can work with our software.
Have you been successful in doing something like that, Daniela? Forcing down the rates because of the performance?
Please say yes now.
No problem.
Okay, fantastic.
No, but also something that you mentioned earlier with regards to adding temperature information and shock information. That's also something that we do occasionally, to have a temperature tracker with the container, and then connecting that to the Ocean Insights data to see where was that point where it was too humid or too hot inside the container.
Right. So that's something that you wanted. Are there other things that you don't get from Ocean Insights that you'd like to tell Max now that you'd like to develop?
No, I mean it's a perfect way to track your containers without telematics, because with standard box containers, telematics tracking is just not realistic. So,
okay.
And we have only very, very specific and rare cases where we want temperature detected, shock detected, door opening detected, and yeah, that's very, very rare.
Okay, I have another question here from our audience, and they're being fantastic. This one is from Thomas Heinzelmann Flexis, and it's a question to Daniela. Can you imagine that there will be additional need for optimization that comes along with the better data you get from Ocean Insights? So I think what he means is, can you imagine better data than you get from Ocean Insights? Bit of a cheeky question, isn't
it? Can you draw better conclusions for your business to optimize your business having this data available? Because that's what I see happening. So as I said earlier, we're using that data with other data from our internal container management to reduce the time that we have an empty container in our container stock, because also that, of course, creates fees for us. Or to the raw material containers, to use the material from the longest standing container earlier than the one that came in only last week. So things like that. So we can drive optimization from that data.
Okay.
Thanks.
I'm gonna. Sorry, did I just talk over somebody?
No. I just said thanks. No worries.
I'm going to go on to another question, because these are coming in thick and fast, and they're really good questions. And I assume this is from a friend of ours in Japan, Tien Man Nguyen, or maybe Vietnam. And the question is quite long. My question is: during peak season and port congestion is happening at big transit ports, most of the chemical shipments, especially dangerous goods, are rejected by carriers because they are afraid of the container being delayed at transit port. How could you deal with this issue, as it has had a bad impact in our supply chain?
It's the question.
Do you understand that? It's a long question.
Okay.
Do you want me to repeat it?
No, I got it. Good question. So first of all, I think the best answer here is the information we provide to you. So in fact, that we have it's called artificial intelligence in place. Our algorithm calculates in ETA, and if we see, okay, there might be a delay regarding port congestions in somewhere, we proactively inform you that there is a delay, even if the carrier is not telling you. So you have the possibility to plan in advance that it might come to a delay, to maybe plan an alternative route if the carrier rejects your shipment. So here, I think the planning is the status, or the most important aspect here, because if you have the information early enough, you can plan also other routes or other journeys if the carrier rejects your shipments.
Okay.
I hope
Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, or even before that, I mean, you can decide to use direct routes for dangerous goods shipments, because we're gaining so much more experience and we have all of these events. They're much more on our radar these days, I would say. So, for example, with last year's strike in Montreal, and a possibility that it's happening again, we already started preparing rerouting shipments and stuff like that. So we're all more aware of those events.
So you're rerouting through Halifax, is that right?
We're rerouting through Norfolk, I think.
Oh, right, okay. Okay, that's interesting. I've got another question here from Anna Bergman, and I'm going to push that. This is for Daniela, and it's just a technical question. What kind of telematics GPS device do you use? Battery powered, solar powered? Do you have different hardware for different types of container?
Okay, as a chemical company, we're not trying to have any telematics owned by us. And as I said earlier, as Ocean Insights tracking does not need telematics on the container itself, we're trying to avoid that as much as possible. Only if there's really a need because of the product or because of special requests to have containers equipped with telematics, but then we also ask our container providers to provide a smart container, including that, and not having Wacker devices that we need to manage, that we need to make sure that battery levels are okay, stuff like that. So we're trying not to do that.
Yeah, you want to
really
put that on somebody else. Is that something? Yeah, sorry, Max.
Sorry, just keep in mind that you have to create logistics around these telematic devices. So I think, first of all, you need to create another logistics around these devices. And the second aspect is that I think it's more expensive than just using a software. So just keep that in mind, to avoid telematics if you're able to avoid them.
Is there an huge extra cost for the telematics then? Is that part of the problem as well?
It's like a hardware device you have to put into a container. If you ship to, I don't know, like Brazil, you need to organize that they are resent to Germany, for example. So it's a new logistics you have to create around these hardware telematic devices.
Yeah. And also in chemical plants, you have to be very, very careful because you have a lot of areas where you cannot bring in devices that do not have the proper setup for explosive. So you need to make sure that they are certified for going into areas where the product might explode. If you have, I'm missing the English word for this, but yeah. So that's why also we're very conscious about what we bring into our plants.
Right. So it would be, I guess, something that would spark or create heat. Yeah, something that would. Yeah. Okay. Moving on, because we have another question from Alejandro Jimenez, and I hope I pronounced that well. Do you have a way to recognize when a container has been moved from one vessel to another, i.e. a feeder?
Yeah, of course. We also receive feeder informations as well, and then we inform our customers proactively if there's a change, for example. And sometimes it might happen to focus on the lead times that carriers integrated transshipment without informing customers. And we get this information 100% of the cases and provide it to our customers as well. So we have the possibility to give you the information if there's a transshipment or a vessel change without your carriers telling you. So yeah, of course.
Okay, great. So I'm conscious of the fact that you have these slides, Max. Did you want to go through them or show the audience?
I think the most important slide was the first one I already showed. The second one, I think it's not important. It's just that I wanted to show a conclusion of how we collect the data, that we link between all this information and give the tracking data out of one hand. Maybe you can open the last one. So I think it's slide 12. It's just a quick overview about our standalone web application. So yeah, we have the exception dashboard I mentioned earlier, the incidents feature. You have the possibility to see what's going on with your containers. You get information proactively, something happens, and yeah, I just want to say, if you have any questions or if you would like to see the software in a live demo, please reach out to me, to us at every time, and we of course be happy to answer and to present the software to you.
Excellent. Daniela, would you like to sum up before we, because we're coming, I think, close to the end?
No. I think I think I shared most, and thank you all for the excellent questions. I hope that the audience could get some useful insights also how these solutions are applied in operational logistics. And I would like to thank you for hosting this. So,
Just one last important thing. Please don't forget to download the white paper out of the, I think, called resource boxes. Please download it, everyone, and read it carefully.
Can you tell us briefly what's in the white paper? Because I haven't seen it either.
Yeah, it's just about the current situation. So how chemical companies handle the current situation with focus on Corona and how we are able to solve the issues and to provide with visibility. Just a really quick summarize. It's really interesting to read. So it's an interesting article, white paper.
Okay. Well, I've run out of questions. The audience seems to have run out of questions. Well, I thank you very much for a really interesting debate. I think we can see from the way that Daniela describes the way she uses Ocean Insights that it is a useful tool for those shipping goods globally, particularly in these really difficult times when there are congestion in the US West Coast, rippling out across the rest of the world. Brexit, you mentioned earlier, is a key problem for those of us living in the UK, like me, at the moment. So, I think it's been a real education for me to see how this works, and I thank you very much for your time and your insights, your ocean insights. Thank you, and thank you for joining the audience.
Yeah. And sorry for the spontaneous jumps, but I think everyone was able to follow us.
I think it was fantastic, and thank you very much.
Have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.